Welcome to episode 11 of the Liminal Space podcast. This is Tristan.
This is Rashid.
And today we're going to be talking about a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Well-being, wellness.
Yeah.
All on the waterfront of Khayelitsha, apparently.
Exactly, the waterfront.
And it's a very windy day in Cape Town.
Yeah. So excuse if there's a bit of rattling, it's just the wind.
All part of being here. And we are reconnecting with an old friend of yours, Rashid.
Yeah.
From how long ago?
I'm not even 100% sure the last time we saw each other, but we met in 2012 at University of Cape Town, and we were like a very small group of students. We were as part of the African music stream at the music school at UCT, and so because we were in the same year, we did all the same classes together and everything like that. And I shared with her just before we started recording earlier that I've been so blessed and so proud to see what my sis Bongeka, who we'll introduce shortly, has done and has created. And it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm super inspired. So we're grateful to have this conversation.
So we have Bongeka and Aphiwe with us. Bongeka Qhanga is a yoga instructor, Zen coach, and facilitator. She is originally from the Eastern Cape and moved to Cape Town when she was 9 years of age. She currently stays in Khayelitsha. She trained at the Shala Cape Town School of Yoga and obtained a RYT 200 in yoga teaching in 2021. She's currently obtaining a RYT 300 teaching certificate. She's a part-time yoga instructor at the Bridges for Music in Langa. She has worked with Ikeja Wireless to bring yoga to the most vulnerable children in the townships and Cape Flats. This initiative, called Yoga Fridays, aims to provide a safe space for children to learn mindfulness-based tools in order to improve their mental health and ability to learn at school. She obtained a diploma in music performance at UCT in 2014 and later co-founded a non-profit organization called Tembisa Ratanga, which runs community programs including yoga for children. Bongeka is also an entrepreneur and runs a small business called Ubukho Institute, offering yoga and well-being services to her community.
Qhama Musiq is a vibrant and versatile force in the South African entertainment scene. Born Aphiwe Menziwa, Qhama Musiq is a multi-talented artist from Khayelitsha, Cape Town, who has made a name for himself as a singer, songwriter, actor, and more. With a passion for creative expression and community development, Qhama Musiq is a true polymath, using his talents to inspire and uplift those around him. Welcome, Qhama. Welcome, Bongeka.
Thank you.
It's an honor and a privilege to have you with us today.
It's nice to have a polymath in the room.
Yeah, I don't even know what a polymath is. Maybe that's a good starting point. What's a true polymath?
A multiply talented person.
Yeah.
Should we start maybe, Rashid and Bongeka, you can tell us about your meeting take us back to what was it? Was it you graduated in 2014, so you met before then?
Yes.
Tell us about that and tell us all the embarrassing stories about Rashid. What did he do?
No, there are no embarrassing stories, just that Rashid was a reserved guy. He was quiet. He never bothered us. I hope we never bothered him.
No.
But I think when the first few weeks when he came and we realized that he was part of the African music students, I think we once followed him to his car because we realized he was driving a car. I don't know what we went there to do, but we kept on walking behind him. I don't know what we were doing or what we were up to, but it was me and my friends, the four of us would just be behind him until we got used to him, and we became friends from there.
Yeah, and we did some cool stuff, like, for example, one thing with our exams, you'd have to do a solo piece, which can be whatever composition and whatever traditional instrument, and then you do it like a duet or a trio, hey?
Yes.
And then you do an ensemble. So even like for stuff like that, we'd always be doing stuff. Besides, I mean, we did all our theory, practical, oral classes, ensemble classes together, and then even for those, it was quite cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think something that I'm also remembering is that he used to help us with music theory because we struggled before he came, and then he saved us. We would be like, after our lectures, he would spare his 1 hour or 2 hours just to help us with music theory. And I think we managed to pass thanks to him.
It's so funny because I don't like music theory. I think it's so lame. So it's so funny that I actually helped. Yeah.
And I don't know how this whole music thing works or what you were studying. But when you went there, was it vocals? Was it instrumental? What were you doing?
So I landed in African music. That was not the plan. Maybe it was God's plan, but not my plan. So I wasn't playing any instrument because I had applied for psychology and I needed more points. So my second my second option was African music because I thought this is interesting. So once they couldn't accept me in psychology, I went for music, and I auditioned with my voice there, and I started falling in love with the uhati, the Xhosa bow, but I could only play the djembe and sing. So that's where I started.
On your bio, you do talk about particularly African instruments and stuff. Do you still play any?
Not really, but I just teach to the kids because I don't play for myself as much as sometimes I do play. But I think I realized because I wasn't there to study performance, I realized that this is not my thing. So I prefer teaching. So I do teach uhati and the small xylophone to kids and the djembe.
Wow, that's so cool.
So the music side is what I've been practicing artistically, and I go by the different name, stage name, that is Qhama Musiq, and the Aphiwe Menziwa goes for acting and other creative stuff that I do. So I've done a number of songs that is studio recorded, and my journey in the music has been, again, a journey that when I reflect, it's been a grooming of what I am right now, because I've been part of boy bands, like an a cappella band that I was part of, called Music Sensation. So around those times when Bongeka were in varsity, we were busy doing other stuff, being in the boy band, performing in these theaters.
Is that where she became attracted to you?
I believe so, because
The boy band era.
especially when I'm on stage, I'm too sexy to handle.
You know, to be honest, like I had seen you around at varsity there with the ladies, but I never knew you guys were dating until I saw like years later on social media.
I was stalking her because I was not studying there. So Baxter was my leeway because I was acting there. So Zabalaza especially. So she was also part of the community groups, I would say, because for some reason she was part of another group, but it was a different kind of a setup, poetry mixed with music. So they were doing that, and we were one of the two biggest bands at our time there and then. So we were like matching the two, me being the Beyonce of mine and happy. I don't know, whatever, but she's never a Beyonce in wherever she is. She's just humble and keeping her space. She is the queen, not just anybody. But that's when we met through the arts, and that's how I got to see her and observe her. But I must say, it's not her who got interested, it's me who stalked her.
Stalked or pursued? There's a
Pursued,
fine line.
I would say.
Probably pursued,
Pursued,
she goes,
indeed.
a bit of the both.
So we asked this opening question to our guests about stories, and the question is, what story or stories, can be more than one, grounds you at the moment? Or what stories do you live from, helps you navigate the world that you are in?
I think one thing that's grounding me is understanding that there were people that came before me, and I believe that they are rooting for me in the spiritual world or in the other dimensions. And I think that really grounds me, because I know that I'm not alone, even if I face challenges, especially knowing that my mother is on the other side. Like, I know that she is there cheering for me. So, and she's calling on her mother and father and everyone to say, this is my daughter, we need to be doing this for her. So that really grounds me, understanding that we are spirits And as much as we have been taught in our lives that there's no life after death, but I do believe there is life after death. And as a spirit, as a spiritual being, having this physical experience, I will also get into the other side. And what really grounds me is even with the work that I do, even with the values that I live by, I need to be careful with what I do, understanding that one day I am going to be an ancestor, and the energy or the spirit that I'm going to transfer to my grandchildren or whoever that is in my circle is going to be whatever that I used to do when I was alive. So that is really grounding me to be more authentic, to be more true to myself, but also to be playful, because I don't want to be an angry ancestor who's going to be like, why are you chowing that money? You should be doing this. So I'm doing my best to be balancing between what life is giving me. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
That's deep.
That's very deep.
I love the idea of having a physical experience. We spirits having a physical experience. Wow.
Yeah, it is deep.
If I asked you what is the question Thembisa Ratanga is trying to answer? So to give listeners an idea of where we're in Khayelitsha, we're next to a, what did you say, Rashida? Estuary. Are we next to an estuary or a river? I don't know what this is. It's a river.
Swamp. That's what
you calling it a swamp? Okay.
That's what we know.
But there's bird life. There's bird life. There's reeds. You've set up
the wetlands.
A wetland.
Wetlands.
Yes. There's a yoga studio, outdoor yoga place outside, and then on the other side, we in the middle of Khayelitsha. So shacks and taxis and all sorts of things. And what is the question you're trying to answer in this space?
For me, it's straightforward. We want to serve as a platform for many things. You mentioned yoga, you mentioned wildlife, you mentioned the shacks around us. We want to be a platform for all that have different abilities that they wish to express, whether it be artistically, academically, sports, even building, because how we have come up with the structure, it's been DIY. And for me to see young people that I've been working with, we started building with the corrugated sheets and trying to make ends meet and make this vision that's bothering us to come to life. And now we've been trusted with that. Now it's continuing to, again, that platform, it's from being those people hammering, now we are putting bricks. That's another skill, and those people are able to take the skill that we are offering here or practicing here to make some income outside of Thembisa Ratanga. And that's all I believe we are answering to. We are a platform for kids to be themselves, to play. We are a platform basically.
And just for clarity, the room we're in now, I think Bongeka said when we came in that this was your family home.
Yes.
You're growing up here.
Yes, we started residing here in 2006, family home. The need of space here in Khayelitsha, it's like huge especially for our community. It's very overpopulated. So when we started residing here, over 13 people were sharing a two-room shack. That situation, adults have to bath sometimes in front of young ones, even when us growing. That's when we saw the need of space. It somehow becomes unsafe because there's no privacy, all of that. But we started residing here, and that for us said there needs to be something that can be done. Because again, with what you are mentioning, the open space for kids to play, the terrace down there for the yoga, all of that, what we used to wake up to was a dump site, an illegal one. So before there was clear space and the terrace, we had to see over the dump that was happening, and we were part of it at some point because the community, that's how it's set up.
Yes, of course.
So that's where we still reside as the small family, at least now, because again with the creating of a space, we used to believe when with the brothers we called it a movement of some sort, what we are doing. It's not a project or what, but we're a movement because we want to move with our community. They must copy what we are trying to do and be able to implement in their smaller corners. So we used to say we create a space where there is no space because there was no space but dumping. So we created a platform, a terrace and all of that.
It's not like you have a massive family plot and then you're like, oh, we'll use the one corner. It's just like there was nothing and now you're creating something from it. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Yeah.
And Bongeka, what would you say the question is you're trying to answer when you are doing the yoga and mindfulness things with kids?
So I would say I'm trying to create a safe space as well. Because as Aphiwe has been sharing, is that in our homes, like there is so much clutter, like there's lots of people in, like some people live in a 2-room, 3-room shack with lots of people in there, meaning that as much as it is your home, but at some point it's not safe, because sometimes as much as someone won't harm you, physically harm you, but when you need your own space, you need your own space. So for me, when I do yoga and mindfulness practices, I'm trying to help the kids and the people in my community to find a safe space within their bodies. Because even for me, I realized when I went for yoga teacher training that there was a lot in my body that I was not aware of until I had someone to instruct me and help me do certain yoga poses that were apparently releasing some trauma that I was not aware of. So with the trauma that we have in our bodies, we sometimes feel unsafe in our own bodies. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust that we are safe within ourselves. So when kids get to practice yoga and sit in meditation and do mindfulness practices, they get to get closer with themselves and come back home to themselves, because home is not the house, home is your body. And where you are, like 24/7, you are here. So you need to find a safe space within your own body.
So in our last episode, we spoke about this idea of also the guest was talking about returning to themselves, like finding home in that kind of way. And I wondered for you what that journey, like how did you come to that moment where you're now in teacher training in yoga? Was it all of a sudden? Was it a journey? What led you down that path?
I would say it was a journey, because I knew even before I started practicing yoga, I knew that I wanted to teach yoga. I don't know why I was interested in yoga. And in UCT, when there was a lot of stress and anxiety, those buildings can stress you. I wouldn't be always with my friends. So in the afternoons, I would stretch. I thought I was just stretching and breathing. And I saw that was really helpful for me. I would lie on my bed and take deep breaths. And sometimes I would stretch, not understanding that I was doing yoga. And then I got to a point, I think it was 2014, the final year, I started going to YouTube and downloading some yoga videos, and that's when I understood that this is what I'm actually doing. And that's when I saw that this is really helping me to cope with stress, with everyday like stress. And so I would say it was a journey for me to get into yoga teacher training. That's when I decided that, because I started teaching yoga even before I was trained as a yoga teacher. So when I saw the opportunity, I saw that this is what I need to be doing and this is what I would love to do.
I think I saw on social media, Bongeka, you were sharing at some point how there's not everyone in the community who like appreciates yoga or who values it the way that I interpreted it, and maybe I'm being naughty, but was like a particular Christian imagination and mindset. If you feel comfortable, I wonder if maybe you could share that, and maybe what's that like, doing something that you find is such a beautiful thing for kids, and you know.
That's what we are. Like, that's the challenge. Even with old people, it's still the challenge. People think yoga is some sort of a religious practice, And because it was maybe when it was introduced through social media, TV and stuff, it was introduced as if it's for certain people that are going through this, practicing this religion. So people do have that awareness that it could be something that's there to offend their own religious values. And I find it that most of the people that are finding it challenging are Christians. They feel like it's there to challenge their Christianity, or it's taking them away from their own God, because I would say we all know that yoga is coming from India, and therefore it has to do with Buddha and stuff. So once you say meditate and do yoga, they think of Buddha and not the practice. So even in our program, there is some parents that are saying, don't include my kids when we are doing this, because this is not what we like. We don't agree with this kind of practice. So I'm still having that challenge, which is sometimes triggering, but I also understand, because for me, I did not plan to do yoga. It happened. So if like I were to put myself in their position and have someone coming to introduce something while I know of this thing, then it would be also challenging them to question their own beliefs.
Of course.
Yeah.
What would you say to those parents? I mean, I don't know if you debate the parents, but how would you say to alleviate that fear? Because I guess it is a fear. You're scared of maybe it's going to lead the children one way or another. What would you say is an argument against that?
So I think I would say, because I always, when I start my classes, I always say yoga is a practice that brings you closer to yourself. It's not about, you are not praying to any god. You are coming back to yourself. You are listening to your own body. That's the simplest way I always explain it. You are listening to your own breath. You are listening to your own body, your own aches, your own discomforts and stuff. So it's not about anyone. Like even when you practice, you don't have to be looking at your partner or someone that's sitting next to you. Just focus on yourself, and you don't have to do as the teacher does. Do what you can with your own body. So it's a practice that's bringing you back to yourself, to say, I'm aware now that I have a headache. I was not aware of it maybe 5 minutes ago, or I'm aware that the injury that I had 6 years ago, I can still feel some sensations or something. So it's coming back to your own self and not about any religious practices.
I'm wondering, like, because you do yoga with Ubukho Institute, that's your organization that you set up here. And I'm wondering, when you do yoga in other spaces, so you were telling us was it yesterday, you were in Melkbosstrand doing yoga on the beach there. I saw the videos, Table Mountain in the background. I'm just wondering about location and context, and perhaps even the lived experiences of the people as well, if that changes, maybe not necessarily how you approach it, but just your considerations in those moments.
Yeah, I think it changes with each and every class that I teach, with each and every group that I teach. So, for instance, yesterday I was teaching a Christian group, and it was old women. So I had to be, as much as
was it white, old white?
No, it's colored woman.
Colored,
so
okay. Wow,
I had to fit into that space. And as much as I know we call our black mamas, but sometimes I would find myself saying mommy, because I want to, I want to connect with them. And that's because I knew that they were Christians and that was a church camp. So I would sometimes say, you won't hear God when you are busy in your mind. So sometimes when you practice yoga, you settle down so that you can hear the voice of God. So I knew that is somewhere in the scripture. So so I would connect it to what they already know or something that they are practicing, to see that I'm not coming with my own thing. But if I were to go and teach a group of sangomas, I will have to use something that I know it's going to be fitting perfect for them. And when I teach children from Khayelitsha or from my community, I need to go in like with the language and with the level of their own understanding. But if I were to teach kids from like a middle class or first class, I were to change. I would have to change the way I articulate myself and everything. So I think it changes with each and every group, and last week I was teaching Xhosa grandmothers. So it was a different space, and I had to now bring them and connect it with the rural areas that they are more familiar with. Telling them that meditation is something that we always meditate, but we are not aware of it.
Of course,
Sometimes the grandmothers would sit next to the hut and watch the sunset. That is meditation, because no one is distracting you. You are drinking your own tea, enjoying that. So I would bring in those atmospheres and use the language that's more comfortable and familiar.
Beautiful. So you're like contextualizing it, and then you're doing it almost just to...
You know what word it is, Rashid?
Yeah.
Interlocutor.
No.
Bongeka is being an interlocutor. She's going into in between these spaces. And Rashid makes fun of me for saying that word.
Interlocutor.
To give him context, so in the previous episode we did with a friend, Adisa, he mentioned this word interlocutor, and we were laughing because it's a word that academia now has claimed, and we won't go into all of that. But then Tristan, he was saying he was trying to find a certain word, and I only realized like maybe 5 days later when I was busy editing the episode, and it was this word border walkers, and I sent it to him, and he was like, oh, maybe we can talk about that in future episodes. But border walkers, like thinking of someone, and I'm thinking of you, Bongeka, maybe Qhama as well in different contexts, like someone who has the ability to be, and this is exactly what you were describing, on the borders of different spheres of society. So whether it's the Xhosa ladies from the rural areas or the colored, what do you say, mummies, teaching them there. And that is such like a beautiful thing. You were talking, Bongeka, about how you don't like going into the city. It's just not your vibe. You're like, this is home. This is where you want to be and work and do the things. And also just thinking about that dynamic, Cape Town as a place. We always problematizing Cape Town as this place that it wins too many awards about apparently being the most beautiful place and all of these things. But we know it's also one of the most unequal cities in the world, and there's a lot of injustice and those kind of stories. So being someone who's perhaps been navigating in different spaces in Cape Town, maybe for both of you, just thought some reflections on that as well.
I would say it's a very important, I don't know if it's a quality to have that. I was gonna say, for me, what she's doing is being relevant. So knowing the time and the audience and what needs to be delivered when. So understanding what relevance means for me as an artist navigating different spaces in Cape Town, I had to be that kind of a person again. For me, who was not a African speaker, but I've been in casts of theater shows whereby the whole cast is African speaking, but you have to somehow, at least even if you say away the whole time. And most of the time when you encounter people, they are dominant in terms of the language, it's rare that you'd find them wanting to accommodate that one stranger. Now it offers me the understanding that there are different worlds. Therefore, if I'm creating an art piece, I need to know that this piece of music, I might be singing Xhosa lyrics, but something in this music must be able to speak to a non-Xhosa speaker, so that opens the whole understanding of how I'm curating what I do. Even with the work that I do currently, it's accommodative for everyone. Even tourists coming from different parts of the world, they are able to find something that motivates them because of this upbringing that has made me understand that I need to somehow be a border walker.
Something like that,
It could be your second stage name.
Border walker, the polymath.
The polymath.
Border walker, the polymath.
Or it's a song title you can claim.
It seems like you both are quite in touch with some kind of understanding or knowing about things that are going on. You use the word energies, like sensing the energies of what I'm interested to know, like, what are you sensing in this moment in the world as it relates to you living here and how it affects your community and the people around?
Sure.
So for me, what I'm sensing at this moment in the world, I think people are waking up. Like there's this awakening that's happening, and I would include myself as part of the people that are awakening, and that group is becoming so, what's this? The English word is gone.
So that
They are
Fearless.
becoming so fearless. Yeah. They are becoming so fearless because I think now it's time for us to know the truth, or maybe to really embrace the truth and to connect with the truth, because we've been told what we have been told, and this is not about any race. It's a human race awakening, and people are becoming one as a human race. It's not about black people or white people are awakening to this, but I think we are finding the common things that are connecting us as a human race, and we are awakening to that, and we are starting to realize the truth, and without blaming any race, but everyone is realizing that this has been a lie. This has been this is not the reality of what life is about, and we are beginning to connect. And like I said before, we are beginning to also understand that we are spirits, and there's nothing like beyond us being spirits. Because I may be black, you may be colored. We may call, I don't know how to say.
Rashid is an anomaly.
So
Yeah.
it's not about that, but if we understand that we are one spirit and we come from one source, and I think that's where we are going now. Hence, for me, the practice of yoga and mindfulness was never something I planned, which is, I believe the universe gave that to me because maybe I am ready to bring that into my community, not as a white or Indian person, but as someone who is more connected to this community and to these people. And I believe if I were a white or an Indian person, it wouldn't be perceived as how I am giving it to my community. So I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but as a human race, we are awakening to become one.
Help us a little bit about that. You're talking about the truth, or
Yes.
that thing that is like we're coming to realize something. There's this awakening to something. What is that thing, apart from like the unity of like we are all, there's some common things amongst us regardless of our skin color and our ethnicities and all these things. Like, what is that thing? What is the realization, I guess?
I think the thing is the spirit. I will go back to that. It is the spirit because, like I said, yoga is bringing you home to yourself, and we have been made to believe that home is outside of ourselves. For women, for instance, we've been made to believe that home is skin bleaching, buying weaves, being a certain shape or looking a certain way. So we've been chasing after things that we can buy with money. But home is where we are. Home is in our bodies. And I think it's one thing that we are slowly realizing. And once you begin to understand that there's nowhere else I need to be but to be in myself and to be true in myself, then you can easily connect with other human beings. So I think we are beginning to understand the power of me being me and understanding myself without what I have been told, what I have been told to practice, how to dress, how to be this, but who am I without those things?
Maybe if I may add, part of hearing the question that what is that reality or that lie or that awakening, for me, the one that binds us all is the fact that, liking or not, we have all been domesticated in some way, either positively or negatively, and that affects all of us as the species, not just humans but dogs as well. The animals, they are operating in that certain manner because we have somehow manipulated how they function. So it bleeds into many other things that's why a certain people will be having issues of race because there was domestication from home that a certain race is inferior than the certain race. It's not something that you asked for, but it was a domestication that was enforced. Sorry,
No, don't know.
We just had a little visitor.
Ambocho kumakayoza kuphakela. Ambocho kumakayoza.
It's because that's the story that we're being told as well. There's a story we believe about who we are. So either you're gonna believe the story that someone else is telling about you, or you're gonna come home to this, to the work you're doing. I think is part of like returning to yourself to be like, I'm reclaiming my story. I'm reclaiming who I am in my body, and I'm moving from that point of view, which then changes things. Then if someone comes against that, you're like, no, I'm sure. I'm actually
certain,
I know who I am.
Definitely.
I'm interested in that story that Tristan was talking about, that I think all of us use the word, we've been domesticated in a way, maybe we've been socialized in a certain way. And I'm wondering, who is it or what is it that tells us that lie that Bongeka spoke about? We like to, a lot of the time, consider things about stories.
Sure.
So if there's one narrative that is telling us as humans who we are, who we should be, and maybe that narrative is different depending on your race, depending on if you're a man or a woman. So there's that one, there's that status quo, if we can name it that, that's telling us things. What are some of the places that those voices would come from? And then how do we, in some ways, reject those voices? Because it could be coming from loved ones, it can be coming from a parent.
Exactly.
That's true.
Stuff like that.
So the question is where
Where are they coming from?
are they
Yeah,
coming
perhaps
from?
as a starting point, the status quo, the world has already been imagined by
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Who's done that imagining, and where do we hear that sometimes on a daily basis? You know,
I think that voice comes from the first people to give you the voice are your parents. Because even when you are in your belly, but they have been told by someone. So I would say the most powerful voice is someone that's closer to you, who is your parent. And then it becomes your siblings, the family, your friends, school, church, government. And then it goes on and on and on. So I think it has been structured in that manner, but the most powerful one is the one that's always closer to you. For instance, like as much as we say it comes from love, but if sometimes our parents would say, don't go there, you are going to be killed. Don't go to varsity, for instance, you are going to be killed. If you believe that voice, as much as she's protecting you from something that she knows might happen, but that voice might be harming you in another a manner. So it becomes stronger when it's the parent or someone that you love or someone that you trust. And I would say the only way, not the only way, but like I had said, coming back to yourself, which is spending more time alone, listening to your own thoughts, listening to your own emotions, listening to your own body, and also questioning your thoughts. Because if you tell me something and I don't question it, then I'm gonna be you. I'm gonna think like you and do things like you.
Sure.
But if I
That's good.
get to spend time and ask myself, what does this mean for me? Is this true for me? Is it how does it make me feel, or how does it shape me? If I continue to think in this manner that you are telling me, how does that impact me? So if we can find courage to be closer to ourselves and trust ourselves, then we will have the ability to question things. Because the minute we don't question things, you have the power. But when I question what you tell me, then I'm taking back my own power and saying, okay, you're saying the banana is yellow, but I will tell you, okay, the banana, yes, is yellow, but it does have brown and green colors in it. So it's not just yellow.
It's not just yellow. Exactly.
So
Sure.
so now I'm taking my own power and giving my own voice that this is what I see in this.
But with that said, it's not an easy road to travel, knowing our not just community as Black people, but the eras or the generations coming past. There are certain things that were done in that certain era, like the questioning that we are saying people need to question. It's a privilege, I would say, for someone to know that I need to question things. Because as we grow and we are being domesticated, we know kids have a lot of questions because they are new in the world and they are asking, what is this, mommy? What is this, dad? And most parents are annoyed by kids who have a lot of questions more than being interested, which again, we do understand. The past has been maybe, say, for our generation that has been enslaved, whereby you were told, like, silently, don't ask the boss so many questions. Therefore, that becomes part of your identity, that I must suppress whatever answers that I need from people. It starts from there, but it's something that gets given to us from birth, and then it becomes something that continues. But once you have someone like Bongeka who will offer yoga, and then from there, the unlocking and the safe space to be able to ask questions. Why are we doing this pose? If we were to put people that are practicing yoga, you'd find that the answers are different. Some of them are doing it for flexibility, some of them are doing it for mobility, some of them is just for balance. And that, for me, it speaks to the uniqueness than what the society flags the yoga as just something of nudity and all of that. I wanted to add that to the other stereotypes, is that the culture is not just the religious people, but culture as a wife who is now seen wearing tights and all of that. It becomes a taboo in the cultural side of things. Now, are you gonna stretch in front of people and all of that? But everyone needs to stretch and all. But for me, it is something that's really hard to have, the questioning and the courage to know that I need to and I deserve to describe things in my own perspective.
Maybe you must say if I'm now taking this too far. But what I'm hearing is like the work is both. There's returning to yourself. There's this being sure of who you are and secure in that. But there's another thing also about a collective safe space where you can ask questions or people can call you out or say, but no, the banana is actually green and thing. So there's a inward bit to yourself and there's a other bit that is collective as well. Would you agree with that? Do you think
I do believe, and as you are talking about that, I got reminded of the Indian mandala or something, the paintings, and I don't know if the word is right, the anatomy, that it says everything, like the clothes, the shirt that Rashid is wearing. I wish they would see it. It's a nice shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
It's not that shirt without the other paintings, the other drawings, but you could easily focus on one drawing there. So the individualization and the grouping is that, yes, you need to focus on the self so that you become a good team player when you're coming to the grouping system, and be able to come back to what I was talking about, able to navigate the right time to ask the questions, the right space to do certain things. If you are connected to the self, you'll be a good team player and be socially at least aware and at least navigate the world in a different and a better way. That's my perception.
That's good.
Thank you. It is.
And your music that you do, what kind of content are you, like, what are you expressing through your music?
Again, in the concept of being a polymath, it comes out in the music that I do, to a point where there's this conversation that keeps on happening, because the world says, or the society says, an artist needs to do a certain genre, therefore your audience needs to know you for a certain genre. But for me, I'm gifted with a voice that can do a number of different genres. Like I've done amapiano, I've done afropop, I've done cultural music, and I can do umombelo, African music. Even try hip hop, because I was big on singing the hip hop choruses. That was my upcoming in terms of the music scene. I got to be known as the chorus guy in terms of the hip hop scene in Khayelitsha, and in fact locally, because that carried the community around those times when we were starting the hip hop scene. Even though I was not a rapper, but they needed that someone who can vocal on their choruses, so I was doing that. And cool. That's what I do, and it's mostly vocals, because for me, melodies, I really get whatever energy that I'm big on energy, as you might hear on this podcast, energy guy. So whatever energy that I get from a melody or an instrument, I'm able to put my own authentic self. That's one thing I'm proud of, that you would still be able to say this is Qhama singing here without the genre changing how I sound.
And you have a tagline for Qhama Musiq, which is,
sure,
I'm reading it here, where art meets community.
Yes, I'm very much for the community. Again, I'm big on reflection. I don't like doing things for doing things.
Yes,
I'm
of course.
questioning myself, why am I singing? So the answer that comes from my questioning is the fact that I'm given this gift that I have to give hope to the community that I come from, and even far beyond, or even not just the community, because again, with music, it's a universal language. So
So you talking about giving hope, and you were saying in the beginning, before we started recording, that the word Tembisa means the one that gives hope.
Sure.
And in a way, your organization, this place, does that for other people. But then where do you find hope in the space, in the world, as you're doing your work, as you're living, as you're raising kids? Where do you find hope?
So for me, where I found and I still find hope is from my partner, Bongeka, because I would say my awakening phase was exactly when I got to meet her. Because at some point, as someone who has grown in Khayelitsha and different parts of South Africa, as mentioned, I've been somehow exposed to different traumas and how humans are and how they operate, to a point where my peaceful spirit was tainted, if that's a word, or just it caught from those traumatic experiences, to a point where when I got to meet her, I was hopeless, friendship-wise, relationship-wise, because I've had friends and I've offered my whole self peacefully, so thinking that that's how people will receive it, and vice versa. But it was always been disappointments until I met her, and I was like, this is exactly what I was praying for. And when it finally happened, I really found hope, to a point where, far beyond the romantic relationship, the friendship that we have, the spiritual journey that we are talking about, it's very hard. Even you might be spiritually awake, but if you don't have someone to pour your spiritual thoughts and awakenings, when you don't have that space, then it's somehow tormenting and hard for one to journey along, because sometimes you need to mirror your thoughts, and she's been doing that and becoming the safe space. Again, I wanted to touch on that. When we are talking about a safe space in Ratanga, it starts from self again. If I feel safe within me, I can be able to hold a safe space for her, which we are doing for many other people of the community. We are holding a safe space for them, and even the tourists or the visitors coming, they are able to feel the sense of this place feels safe even though I'm in a place that is not so safe. Hence we came with our slogan that says a safe space in a not so safe place. That's what we are as the waterfront of the township.
Brilliant.
Before we started recording, I heard both of you talking about nature and plants and those kind of things, and I wonder if perhaps that's part of the awakening that you were talking about, spiritual things, but then relating them to things on earth, relating them to our very own bodies. And I'm wondering, like, this relationship between nature and spirituality and your bodies, what you would say about that.
So I think we are all spirits. Something that I learned from yoga is that yoga poses are imitating nature, and it's never nature imitating us. So sometimes you are a tree, sometimes you are a bird, sometimes you are a cobra. So you are imitating nature, and it shows that we are one as nature, and there's no separation between us and the nature. And it, like, when you really are, or when you want to find connection with yourself, which is something that I do as well, I go out to nature because it gives without expecting anything from me. It is Mother Nature. It's even called Mother because it's nurturing us, it's giving us. And every time we wake up, and here we are blessed because we are in the informal settlements, we are surrounded by the shacks, but when you wake up early in the morning, nature is saying hi. Life is like, it is peaceful. It's giving a different message than someone who wakes up by the road. So you are getting a totally different kind of space, but we are in the same area, but the connection between us and what's surrounding us is totally different. And for me, the resemblance of nature when I am here, I think it's something that also keeps me going, because in the evenings I know I am forced to watch the sunset. I don't plan to watch the sunset, but the mountain, the green, the sky, the clouds, the birds, the water, it's a gift. So hence I believe that the more we come back to ourselves, the more we are going to understand that we are one with nature, and we're not gonna separate ourselves from nature. We're not gonna want to harm the birds, always cut the trees. We're gonna understand that there's an exchange between these, and we are one. Thank you.
That's really beautiful. I mean, that idea that nature is a gift. You said nature gives without asking anything. That's really beautiful.
And I believe that's what they refer to when they are saying being. They are just being. They are not proud about, I'm going to heal you, therefore I'm the healer. But us, we blow our own horn. If I make you famous through this podcast, you remember you got famous through this, but you were just being. You are offering the podcasting skill to the human race, or to the universe for that matter, not just for us that can hear. We are not sure that trees can't hear and all of that, but we are aware that they are breathing, they are growing just like us. They are being, and therefore what we are lacking is being as human beings.
Exactly. It's weird, it's in our name, but we suck at it.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. There's the wind being there.
yes.
And we can't control it.
Can't control
because
it.
I caught myself, because I would say I'm the host, because this is our home, and now we are trying to meditate and relax, but that is happening. And it made me realize that as the work that we are doing of wellness, there are different businesses. That's God's business, and I can't do nothing about it. Then after that realization, I was coming back to myself. relax. There are people, they understand this. So you can't change what you can't change, but be in this moment.
We're in different businesses, yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So that was a great conversation, and as a way to close off our conversation, Bongeka has offered a gift of a body scan, and so we invite our listeners, everyone, to experience this.
So you can either lie on the floor with your back, or you can sit up straight in a chair. And once you get into an comfortable position, you can gently close your eyes, relax your feet, relax your legs, just let go of yourself, let go of your body, relaxing your arms and fingers, relaxing your shoulders. And you're going to take a deep breath in and out, and slowly take your attention to your feet, noticing the tingling or the life that is happening in your feet. And you'll take your attention to your ankles and your legs and notice the energy. Noticing anything that you are feeling in your legs. And gently take your attention to your knees. Notice what's happening in your knees. And if you find yourself distracted by your own thoughts, thinking about something else, you can slowly notice the thoughts. Don't fight, don't chase them away. Acknowledge them and bring your attention back to yourself, and shift your attention to your thighs, noticing the back, the front, and your inner thighs. And you can slowly take your attention to your hands, noticing the sensations, the life that is happening in your hands and fingers. And you will gently shift your attention to your arms, noticing your arms, paying attention to anything that you can feel. It could be pain, it could be discomfort, it could be relaxation. Notice that. And take your attention to your shoulders. Noticing any sensations, any heaviness, or you might be feeling light and relaxed, might be feeling tired. You're not looking for any good or bad. You're noticing what is currently happening in your body at this moment. And you will begin to take a deep breath in and out. Last deep breath in and out. And begin to notice your body from your feet to your shoulders. And don't worry about the rest of the body, it will catch up. And you may gently open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was helpful for me.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That was helpful for me.
Very much relaxing.
That was really, really good.
Absolutely.
Namkelekile.